Hey, peace, world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. I'm gonna jump right into some bite down boxing talk. Just looking at the some Floyd Mayweather comments from after the fight, the post fight with Gervonta Tank Davis beating or knocking out Leo Santa Cruz. I haven't seen the fight. I'm not really talking about the fight itself, but just one of the constant subjects that I've come back to in terms of boxing and certain promoters, certain outfits just respecting the fans and respecting our money and our attention and our contribution to the sport. And the article is up on boxingscene.com, but and look, shout out to Tank on a phenomenal victory. You know, it's a knockout of the year candidate from what I understand. The fight was entertaining from what I understand. So on and so forth. Before I get into the comments, though, I will say that two of the people I only got text messages or was contacted by two people who were watching the fight, and neither of them paid for the fight. And that's one problem for me right there. Is like, not only are you asking me to pay $75 for fights that I already know the outcome to, you're asking me to pay $75 when a lot of other people who I'm watching the fight along with in real time, they're not putting their money up the same way that I put my money up. And so that's another problem that pay-per-view has for me. And I can't continue to do it. Like I've mentioned this before, I used to buy a lot of J's. I used to buy a lot of Jordans. $250, $225 for Jordans, $279 for Jordans. But there was a point in time where someone could get a nice pair of fakes for a fraction of what I paid, and we both be at the club, and they getting the same love as me, and I'm sitting here. And I paid I paid real money to get an authentic pair of sneakers. It's the same concept. But let me get into these comments. A lot of y'all probably don't cop sneaker or aren't sneakerheads and whatnot. But so Floyd says, as soon as a fight is over, the first 10 seconds, who do you want to fight? This is the press asking the fighter. Who do you want to fight? Who do you want to fight? Tank is the top dog. Tank is on pay-per-view for a reason. Tank is where he's at for a reason. So we don't want to come up here and call different names out. Oh, we want to fight him. We want to fight him. We want to fight him. I respect that. I kind of respect that. But I'm just saying, it's some contradictions here, because if you say that he's the top dog, there are certain expectations and responsibilities come with being the top dog. Other people are going to constantly be on your heels. Other fighters are going to constantly be on your heels because that's what the sport is about. But to say that Tank is on pay-per-view for a reason, I mean, I'm also paying you my $75 for a reason. I want to see a competitive fight. If I already knew only true top dogs that win the titles are unified, but that's obvious. You already know what's going on, Latrell. But if I already knew what the ending of Tenet was about, the movie that just came out a couple of months ago, would I go to pay the $20 to see it in the theater? Or would I just wait till it came out on DVD or came out on HBO or Showtime or something? 2 to 3 weeks before this fight was on, 2 to 3 weeks before the fight came on, many of the pundits and the talk show hosts, the podcasters, everybody was saying Tank's going to blow Leo out. Leo doesn't have a shot. That's 2 to 3 weeks before. Now, Monday after, oh, it was a great fight. Crown so-and-so, crown Tank, blah, blah. I get all of that, but I'm just saying, again, we already knew 2 to 3 weeks ago what the outcome was going to be. Now, it doesn't add insult to injury that you got some value for your $75 and the fight was competitive. There was some back and forth. There were some things that Leo did, and boxing tends to do that. You know, when guys are world class, I mean, Leo was a cat who won, 4 titles or titles in 4 divisions and whatnot. So nobody thought he was an absolute scrub. But we knew at the end of the day, the margin of error was very slim for him to win that fight, and that it probably wasn't going to happen, especially when it went over, when we're looking at 12 rounds. Another question I had of Mayweather: when is the burden of proof going to be on Tank Davis going into a fight? Oscar De La Hoya, Mayweather was not guaranteed to beat Oscar De La Hoya. When Mayweather called out and made the fight, or took the fight, made the fight with Canelo Alvarez, part of the intrigue about that fight was we thought Canelo was a bigger fighter. We thought he could get to Floyd. Maybe it could be a knockout. It wasn't an 80-20 fight. It wasn't a 90-10 fight. It was as close as 50-50 as we thought we could get. So when is the burden of Tank? When is the burden and the question going to be on Tank Davis going into the fight? The same risk that Leo accepted going into this fight. Leo, the majority of us are thinking he's going to lose that fight. When is Tank Davis going in here against an opponent where we don't know? We're whispering, man, I don't know, man. I'm shocked. I can't believe he took this fight. When is that going to happen? So then Floyd also comes out and says, why every time a fighter fight, the first question is, who you want to fight next? Who you want to fight next? I put him in a position so he can do the same thing that I did. Fight when he want to fight. How does that work out? That's what boxing is about nowadays. You fight when you want to fight. How do you hold a title and you fight when you want to fight? There are certain obligations with holding that title. Now we know he doesn't have a world title at the moment. He has the regular title. But fight when you want to fight. And then he said fight who he want to fight. He's the top dog, and he's going to keep going out there proving the world that he is the best. How can you prove to the world that you're the best when you're not fighting the best? Now I'll give you. Would it be wise for Gervonta to fight Garcia if he wins his next fight and then they fight sometime early mid 2021? You know what? I don't even want to play promoter. I don't get paid. I don't make any money on fight night, to throw these things out there. I'm just saying you got to go in, and if you're going to be top dog, if Leonard Ellerbe is going to say that, if you're going to say that you're where you are for a reason, if you're going to say that he's pay-per-view for a reason, the reason has to be because you're delivering pay-per-view caliber fights. So I don't want to make the schedule for you. We can look at the rankings, and we can all see who the hell the interesting guys are. So I don't need to sit here and do that. I would question looking at the rankings though, like, which makes their job kind of complicated. And you want to be on pay-per-view and you want to charge us $75 to watch your fight. A lot of these guys 1 through 15 and all of the sanctioning bodies, a lot of those guys those names don't carry water. I'm sorry. And that's another thing when Floyd is sitting here asking why every time a fighter fight, the first question is who you want to fight next, who you want to fight next. I mean, like you just said, this is nothing new in boxing. I mean, it's a staple question. It's how we maintain interest in the sport. And if you're pay-per-view, you're putting on events. We want to know how ambitious you are to make your event so that I'm eager to give you my $75. What are y'all trying to do next? That was the logic and much of the success in when Mayweather, especially at the first 10 of his, would Golden Boy even let Garcia fight Tank right now? Honestly, don't consider Garcia. I mean, I think I would pay to see that one. I mean, I wouldn't even complain too much about seeing Ryan Garcia, but Ryan Garcia has a hell of an assignment coming up in a couple of weeks in Luke Campbell. I mean, based on the guys who we've seen him fight, the fact that we haven't seen him go too deep into fights, the pedigree of Campbell, that's after, what is that, December 7th or something, or whatever it is, December 5th or whatever, Garcia might not even be in the equation anymore. Luke very well could beat him. I think that's a tough fight. So, but say he gets past Luke. I mean, Garcia has been trolling Tank and calling out Tank for a year and a half or so now. So I would pay for that one. Golden Boy. Honestly, I think I think they would strongly consider it. I mean, if you make a call, if you have some conversations, if you send some emails, if you have some discussions, I think anything is possible. Um, and if he does well against Luke, they might be eager to make that fight. But to sit here and say that we're not going to give out any, we're not calling out any names, we don't do that, we don't want to fight anybody. I mean, you have a title fight. I mean, you have a title. You have to continue. You have to continue to deliver intriguing and compelling fights. So, if he does stop Luke Campbell or defeat Luke Campbell, and calls you out, you don't answer it. You ignore it. Why every time the fighter fight, the first question is who want to fight the next, who you want to fight next. I put him in a position so he can do the same thing that I did. Okay, but if we put the records up side by side, um, as Mayweather is trending up at the same age as his fights and his opponents are trending up, Tank is kind of flattening out over here, and we're not seeing we're not seeing 1-to-1 on the same type of opponent, the same type of challenge. So how do you already get to enjoy the spoils of doing what Mayweather and Lopez, Teofimo Lopez spoke to this. Honestly, boxing transition to money fights rather than fight the best. True, and that's what I'm getting at on the backside of that. Boxing is often, it's more promotion now. We get that, but your promotion still has to deliver. On the night that we bought Mayweather and Canelo, I mean, we saw Matisse and Danny on there. Now, I'm not really gonna clown this fight right here, this card right here. Too bad Regis was on there. He was in against a pretty soft touch in Heraldez. I can't even think of who else was on there. But I mean, this card was not all that hateful. Cruz took out Magdaleno in the first round. Nobody really expected that. I can't even think of the other fight that was on there. But and that's what I'm saying. I cut you some slack right here because we are in the pandemic. People are scrambling, promoters are scrambling to put events together, and you got to do, like I said, who won titles in 4 divisions. But again, we knew, those of us who pay attention and have been paying attention and watching this, we already knew what the outcome of this fight was. I'm not mad at those that put their money down for the fight. But like I said, the 2 people who contacted me about the fight and were watching the fight, they didn't pay to watch it. They didn't put any money up. They didn't give any money to Showtime or Mayweather Promotions to watch that fight. The whole lightweight division is crazy, probably better than the heavyweight right now. But after Loma lost, where does he rank? Man, Loma, I don't think you fall all the way down to the bottom of the mountain and have to fight your whole way up. I mean, we do have to give some, in my opinion, we do have to give some consideration that the dude was out of the ring for 14 months. He came back into it against another world-class guy. He came on strong late and made it an entertaining fight. He probably is a little undersized for the division. He's the oldest guy out of all of these young lions. If they don't want to, if Top Rank doesn't want to go back and do the rematch, and if Team Lopez doesn't want to do the rematch, I mean, he has options. You can still fight a Devin Haney. He could still fight a Mayweather's not answering the phone if Lomachenko calls them or Bob was to contact them about that fight. Mayweather's not. They're not entertaining that call. Ellerby, they're not taking that call. So I don't know, man. Lomachenko can do a lot of things. He could drop down to 130. Lopez made it clear that. Yeah, you say that now. But with Lopez, They could put more money in front of you. It's a guy that you already beat, 9-3, 8-4. They put more money into it for you and sweeten the pot. Had a fight in Madison Square Garden. Maybe reconsider it. Another thing is there's no real rush for Lopez to go up and face either of the two current champions at 140. You don't necessarily want to rush and do that. So I mean, it's a moment to sit back and let cooler heads prevail. Would a public buy a rematch? I mean, there are certain people out there that thought Lomachenko that it was a draw. Some people thought that Lomachenko landed the bigger shots, did a lot of the better work. I mean, there's a way to put that fight together. And like I said, it's not such a bad idea. If we can't get Lopez against Haney, which we won't, if we can't get Lopez against Garcia, which we're not, and that's a little too early for that. We're not going to get Lopez against Gervonta. So it's not a horrible idea for him to entertain that rematch. He's another one. Just not a lot of options here from. I mean, Lopez couldn't go down to 130, but I mean, unless some people want to get together and have some conversations that we really have across the aisle or cross promote, if we haven't seen those things happen, then everybody might have to be a little flexible right now. The only thing with him coming off of this big win, doing the big numbers with the audience, with the TV numbers and whatnot, and becoming and holding all of the major titles except for Devin Haney's situation, he could take a defense. I feel like Loma was waiting for the right shots too much and kept getting tagged. So if Loma dropped down, would he fight Tank in featherweight? I just don't think Mayweather makes that. I mean, I don't see Mayweather taking that fight, especially nothing that he'd said. What did he just say? It was some other stuff on there that he said. If I didn't close it out already, I closed it. But he said he was gonna spend some time with his girl and his daughter and his family. Again, that's kind of the MO for the PBC and definitely for Mayweather Promotions is to, because they already kind of sowed that seed. They said Leonard Ellerby was saying Santa Cruz wanted this fight. We didn't want to fight him. He wanted this fight. He pushed for this fight. He made this fight happen. But it's funny because when other people are going to come and try to make Gary Russell, he can talk all he wants. They're not making that fight. They're not trying to make that fight happen. But Leo, I guess because he had titles in 4 divisions, brings the Mexican crowd conceivably, brings a country in Mexico. He can talk and get the fight made. Gary Russell could make a video a day for the next 8 months. He's not getting that fight in all likelihood. And another thing, when you try to tell me that Tank is pay-per-view and he's the top dog and you want to start telling me as a boxing fan what Tank is and make my opinion up for me, I mean, okay, it's cool that you want to do this, and the people that want to buy these fights and continue to put money in your pocket for fights where we already know the outcome of the fight, I can't knock nobody for that. But I'm being consistent because in the NBA, with all the team hopping in the super team building, I don't really follow the NBA like that no more. Wouldn't there be more money and better pay-per-view buys when there's a better build-up if Tank? Exactly. That's my thing, to sit back and we're not going to say nothing. We just sit back. I mean, like I said, you have a title. If you're a pay-per-view, you have to build events. You have to create events. You have to make people want to see. You have to make people want to dig into their pocket. I'm not here just holding out my money saying, I'm not just sitting here waving $75, $80 in front of you trying to give it to you. Do something to make, like I said, let me have some intrigue. Let me go back and forth on who's gonna win it. Or let me say, damn, I can't believe Tank is taking his fight. I can't believe he's facing him. That's their part of it. My job for all of this stuff is you make a good fight. You go through the hard negotiations and you make a Lopez Gervonta. You sit down, y'all hammer that out however many months it takes to do that. Y'all do that. My job as a fan and as you know the writing that I do, my job is to pay for it, and I have no problem paying for it. I didn't buy this fight. I didn't go out here and find no stream to watch it for free. I didn't go on Facebook and try to watch it for free. I didn't do nothing. I just watched something else. Had you fought somebody where I'm not being sold, here's somebody coming up 2 divisions, or he really had a fight at this division back in 2015, or he started his career at this division. If it wasn't all of these things that I had to factor in and convince myself to buy this fight, versus it just being on paper a hell of a matchup, I'd have bought the fight. I'm sorry, Santa Cruz is a good dude. He's been a great part of the PBC roster. He's had a couple of exciting fights. I like the fights with Frampton. He does his job. He shows up on weight. He's kind of been the PBC's guy out west. He's done his job, and I salute him for all of that. But to put him in this fight right here because he wants to challenge himself. Besides lightweight, how do you feel about Deontay Wilder? Hey, man. I just put the video up. There's a video out here that I just made last night talking through it. To me, that sounds like a legal matter. If you're looking at the contract, whatever transpired with the contract, whether it expired, whatever difficulty there was in making that fight, whether the fight is too expensive to make, whether there needs to be a gate, whatever it was, it sounded like you needed to go get some legal representation if you really wanted that fight. And then with the whole cheating accusations, and I did not see proof of that based on the video that he showed. I mentioned on the video that I made, I listened to somebody from his team. I can't remember his name. But I watched another live stream on YouTube where his team, somebody on his team, do you believe that Fury cheated? I saw some things that in the first fight, when people did go back and put some of the slow motion stuff up, I saw some things that I can't explain. I don't know. Again, that's really not my job. If your team, you're the A side, you're the professional boxer, you have a trainer, you have all your team and your business team. You go back after that fight and y'all however y'all solve that problem, then you go address it. Or maybe you don't have the rematch. Maybe you go back and looked at everything and said, you know what, man, you was doing some dirty stuff in there. I saw some things that I'm not cool with. I'm not you risking my health, my life. It's a blood sport, and you did some things that I ain't in. Move on. Don't have to fight. Now this second fight, for him to come in and say that you did something with your glove and it tore my ear. I don't know what that means. When he says that he had an egg weight inside the glove, I don't know what to do with none of that, man. Again, I have to trust in the protocol. Was some of his tactics dirty? I think some of the stuff that he did inside the ring, some of the way that he throws his punches, and I feel Deontay was helping him in some ways by the way that he was ducking over and bending over. The fact is, why do people discredit Wilder so much after one loss? Yeah, it was a huge loss and plenty of controversy, but now people are saying he should retire. I don't think he should retire. I'm really not that bent out of shape if he did let this fight passing by to go restart. If you want to, the only thing is, based on the business of the game, that for you to get a shot at a title you'd have to move heaven and what is it, hell and earth, or hell and heaven, or hell and earth. You'd have to move quite a bit to get back in line to get a title. But true to PBC form, I mean, if he just wanted to go off on his own and face some of the PBC guys, maybe face Ruiz, I I don't know, with Charles Martin at some point. He got a couple of more fights, and probably, I mean, whatever draw he is, he could do something. But you're locked out. He's locked out of the championship picture for the foreseeable future, in my opinion. Is it an opportunity? I think it presents him with an opportunity. If you want to go work on your craft a little bit more, refocus, retool, go do that. But don't sit here and waste our time with this video preaching scripture and making accusations at Kenny Bayless. I thought Bayless tried to help him out in this fight. A little bit. With the new weight division, would he be smart for Wilder to fight Fury, or would not fighting Fury again? I think he could go back. I think he could take a year off. And that's what I'm getting at with some of this. Be creative. Reach out to Usyk. Reach out to Usyk and see if y'all can do something and fight for that title right there. It's some kind of history, you know. It'd be the first people to fight, you know, the first two fighters to fight for that, and that's not a bad matchup for him. But like I said, in the big picture, I feel like him and his team messed that up. That draw, which I feel like he lost the first fight. He went back to try to, to try to rectify that situation. He came out and let us all know that he was offered money, good money, better money to face Joshua. He didn't want to do that. He didn't want to work with them, most likely. He didn't want to fight on the app. He didn't want to fight overseas. I get all of that. You rolled the dice and chose to go back the route with this man. I don't believe Usyk is really capable of actually winning the title in heavyweight. That's why he should pick up the phone if Team Wilder contacted him and said, hey, you know, me and you could do this over here. He should entertain that. I was gonna speak on. I'm gonna get on Usyk. Then I gotta end because my lunch break is over. I thought Usyk looked pretty decent Saturday night, all things considered. You know, you're giving up 40-something pounds to a dude who's looking to take your head off. I'm a little concerned that, you know, for heavyweight, we usually don't want to see our heavyweights moving around that much, not engaging that much. It's a little bit understandable for you to do that here because it's that fight and it's Chisora. I get it, but you get to facing a Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua. I don't know if we really want to see an opponent moving around and fighting in that fashion. But I mean, that's what he's gonna have to do. I mean, he'd be a damn fool to sit in here and try to go any kind of combat, even a big army against a small army, or little running back against in the NFL with a Darren Sproles. You know, you gotta fight. You gotta play smarter. You gotta play differently to compete. So it's here in boxing. It's understandable that he would fight in the manner that he did, but again, in a heavyweight title fight against AJ or Tyson Fury, I don't really want to see a guy moving that much. But we can't deny him because he already has the mandatory based on the fact that he came up from cruiserweight with the WBO title, so he gets that shot. But I thought he looked pretty decent Saturday doing that against Chisora. And he kind of proves himself to be able to take the next step. He went over and called out Joshua while Joshua was sitting ringside. And now we'll see what the business is. Joshua has to get past Pulev. And whether Usyk steps aside or not, that'll be the thing to see. And let me get on out of here, man. My lunch break is over. Appreciate checking in. Have a great one. Peace.